If you look at Congress, it is impossible to ignore the gerontocracy. But there's a major caregiving crisis in this country, and the solution to it can't be to send our nation's elderly to Capitol Hill. Chuck Grassley should be complaining that he doesn't like today's pudding flavor at the home, not chairing the Senate Judiciary Committee. But I digress. Fine, he doesn't need to be in a home, but you know what I mean. This is why I have some serious choice words for the current caregiving crisis, which makes it nearly impossible for so many to age with dignity and would be detrimentally exacerbated by proposed cuts to Medicaid. Medicaid helps over 7 million seniors afford long-term care, whether at home or in nursing facilities. And now we find ourselves with an extreme caregiver shortage due to them historically being severely underpaid and severely overworked, which means now 1 in 5 American workers are also juggling the care of an older adult. 1 in 5. Look, I am not the type of person to say that money fixes everything, but it does fix some things. Taking money away with cuts to Medicaid would legitimately make this crisis so much worse. This is Choice Words. I'm Samantha B. My guest today is actress Yvette Nicole Brown, who you know from TV shows like Community, Big Shot, and The Mayor, as well as from hosting the podcast Squeezed, which focuses on caregivers and the caregiving crisis. Yvette was the primary caregiver for her father for over a decade, and she has just incredible insight into what it takes to do this. Our conversation just took me to another place. I absolutely loved it. So take a listen and make good choices. I am truly so delighted to be speaking to you right now. What a pleasure to meet you. I'm such a big fan, such a big fan.
It is so mutual. I'm a huge fan of yours. I loved your show, love everything you always do. And so I'm so honored that I get to chat with you. This is wonderful.
My God. And we're like, we're in the Lemonada family together.
I know. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it is really wonderful. And I really want to talk to you about your caregiving, and I want to talk about your podcast because it is really strikingly beautiful. And I think really a must listen for people.
Like we worked really hard, and our hope, Sam, was that it would be like a docu podcast. Like we wanted people to be able to turn it on in the same way you would watch a documentary and see someone's life unfold. We wanted them to listen and hear these wonderful caregivers' lives unfold. It was really a beautiful experience.
It really is beautiful. It's really well put together. It's really, really polished, well produced. It's a smooth experience. Mm-hmm. For people who are listening right now, we're talking about Squeezed. We're talking about Squeezed,
yes.
Your wonderful podcast about caregivers and talking about caregiving. And because so many people are squeezed, and you yourself were squeezed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start at the beginning because we usually, the launch point for this podcast is talking about choices and how we make choices in our life and how those reverberate through the rest of our lives. And that's kind of the jumping off point. So I will start by asking, what kind of a decision maker are you? How do you make decisions?
It's funny. When it's a decision that benefits someone else, I can make it almost immediately. Oh. Like my inner compass tells me immediately, this is the right thing to do for this person, right?
Okay.
When it's for me and it's something that feels like it benefits just me, I am such a waffler. Because I so weird. Like and I think this lines up with the fact that I'm not good at self-care either. I don't decisively know that this is the right thing when it's something that benefits just me. And I know that sounds really crazy, but it's really hard, and I don't want to make a mistake, and I don't want to drop the ball, and I don't want to be a problem. And so it's always that, when it affects me.
Why do you think that is? Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. It's funny. It's you asking me this question is the first time I've really ever said it out loud, because I was thinking, I make really great, quick decisions for other people.
Right.
But for myself, it's just difficult. And I think I hold myself to such a high level of, I want to be perfect. And I know I never can be. So let me be clear on that. but I want to be. And so I'm always like, don't do something dumb, Yvette. So that means the decision that I make that affects just me, I have to be
Right.
really careful how I maneuver. And
Do you think that you have people pleasing tendencies, or or is it more like a
tendencies, lady.
Did,
I got a sandwich board that says I live for you. I mean, it's ridiculous.
how can I serve today?
How can I lay myself prostrate for your benefit today, kind sir or lady? It's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. You know what? That makes a ton of sense. Well, so you're great at making decisions for other people. Whose counsel do you seek? Whose counsel do you seek when you're making decisions for yourself?
I'm a person of faith, so I will pray and ask the Lord, please lead me where I need to go. I'm newly married, so my husband is my best friend and is such a smart guy. So I'm always going, babe, what do you think of this? And then I've got like a brain trust of brilliant women in my life that I can go to and go, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah.
And they have never let me down. And they're from every span of my life. I have friends from when I was 10 years old. So these are 43-year-old friendships. Then I have people from college, and every job I work, Sam, I grab at least 2 or 3 people. So I've got a wide spread of people in my life, male and female, that just really know me and get me and want the best for me, so I can tap into whoever is like in line with that thing I need, the decision that I need to make. And they never let me down.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That's a blessing.
Yeah, you've collected some incredible people along the way, and congratulations on your new marriage.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I can't believe it. This is ridiculous.
How long were you together?
We've been back in each other's lives for about 3 years now, but we knew each other in our 20s. We were in an acting class together in our 20s, and he was married, and so he was just a great friend, but there was nothing at all. It was completely platonic, and then we lost connection for like 25 years. And then my mother passed, and his mother had passed a year before mine, and my mom passed, and he found me, and he was divorced by then.
Yeah.
And he just found me as a friend to just make sure his friend was okay, because he knew that pain. You know, he had just gone through that pain. And we started talking, and it was like, oh my goodness, it's this guy. It's been this guy the whole time. And then a year later, we were engaged, and a year after that, we're married.
Oh, that is a great story.
It's crazy. Ridiculous.
Oh, it's ridiculous. That is so romantic.
It's so crazy and romantic.
Oh, you should write a script about it.
I think I want to. I think I want to, for the main reason that I want to encourage women of a certain age, because I was 50, I think I was 50 or 51 when he came back in my life, and 53 when I got married. So I kind of want to remind women that even though the world tells us that there's a ticking time bomb inside our bodies and we'll explode if someone doesn't choose us by 35, that's not true. And also, I always want to say also, you don't have to get married. Like, you can have a good life as a single woman. I think that this idea that if you're not chosen and you don't have kids and you wasted your life as a woman, and I think that is a bill of goods they sell us, and we need to stop, taking it home with us. And so I'm on both sides of the fence. I spent most of my life as a single woman that had a great life, and now I'm in the married side, and it's also a great life, but one is not better than the other. They both are wonderful. So pick your path and go.
Yeah, there are so many versions of happiness.
Yes.
Like true happiness.
Absolutely.
I saw one of my favorite doctor yesterday, and I gotta tell you, she's such a good doc. She's like a healer. She spends so much time with you. She's just the most caring person. And you should have seen her face light up when she talked to me about her pet bird.
See?
Like, what is this happiness that you have found? And she's like, I don't know what happened, but this bird is like my own soul outside my body. And I'm like, okay. I get it.
See?
So, okay. I mean, you've made big choices. You've made big ones, but you've made, I bet, small ones too that took an unexpected turn. Can you, when you think back on the choices that you have made, is there one that stands out for you?
As in good or bad?
Either. Something that has changed your life. That really changed it.
I'll say one that I wish I had decided different, and I made the decision because my mother, I grew up in a single parent home, and we didn't have a lot of money, and my mother told me from the time me and my brother were younger, she was like, I want you to go to college, but if you go to college, I probably can't help you get there. So it's going to be grants and scholarships and that kind of thing. So that's why I always worked so hard in school. the school that I wanted to go to, the college I wanted to go to was Howard University.
Okay.
And I applied and I got in. But I did not have the money to attend. And my mother was also concerned that it was too far away. Again, a money issue, that if something went wrong, she couldn't get to DC to get me home or to help me. So I didn't go to Howard University. And that is one of the things in my life when I look back on what I wish I had found a way.
Yeah.
That is the main thing. And my greatest dream is that I hope that I can get an honorary doctorate there, or maybe I'll go get my master's there. Like, I need to be a bison before I leave this earth. So that is one that I wish I had done differently. Another one that I just wish that I had just done a little different is I wish that when I first moved to LA right after college, I had immediately chased it. I was afraid. I probably could have started like 5 to 7 years quicker than I did had I not been afraid.
Well, what did you do in the period that you were in that time period when you were afraid? What is it that you did?
You know, the funny thing about me is that I can make good and make anything work, right? So in my mind, I came to LA originally to be a singer. I was signed to a record deal. I was signed to Motown when I was a teenager. So I came out here to be a singer. That did not work out. And so once I got here, I was like, well, I want to try acting. I did it in high school, but I don't know. So I said to myself, if I cannot be in music or in acting, I want to be around it. Okay. So I started temping at offices. I temped at MCA, I temped at Motown, I temped at MGM, I temped at Interscope. I just went to all these offices. My thought is, if I can't be in movies or television or be in music, I want to be able to get CDs and DVDs and make it work. And so that's what I did. So I was an office worker. I worked in corporate America and became a legal secretary. I worked in the music legal department. And the last full-time job I had was in corporate was Showtime. I worked for Showtime in their legal department.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And what was your path to leaving that life and just going like, I better give it a try?
I had an amazing boss, Steve Rogers. He was an attorney at Showtime. He's retired now. Hey, Steve, if you listen or find out about this. And I got cast in a play, a touring play. It was kind of like there was this playwright named David E. Talbert. He's still doing movies and all that. But he did plays that toured. And I got cast in one. And I went to my boss and I said, Steve, I really want to try acting. Do you think I could just take a leave of absence and go on the road for a little bit and see if it works for me? To my delight, this kind man said, I'm going to give you, go out for 2 weeks and see if you like it. And if you like it, you can quit and we'll be fine. If you hate it, your job will be waiting for you. So I went out. I think he gave me a month, actually. In the first 2 weeks, I called back and I said, Steve, I love it. I love it. Oh, it didn't bit me. It didn't bit me good. It didn't bit me good.
Yep.
So he let me quit, but he held my job. He was going to hold my job for a month for me to try it. So I went out. I did the play for 8 months. And then I came back from the play and started doing commercials, and everything just took off from there.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
That's so
I'm
much.
Forrest Gump. Sam, I'm Forrest Gump. I just kind of moonwalk into stuff. It's crazy.
Well, it's like, I feel like from the short amount of time that we've been talking, I do feel like you do seem like a person who says yes to life.
I do.
Who says yes, who sees what is possible and just tries it.
I try. I feel like we have one shot at this, as far as we know.
Yeah.
You know, we have one shot. And so my thought is, I don't want to miss something that's really great. Right. So I do take risks. You know, moving out to LA, it was like I had two rolling duffel bags and a place to stay for 3 days when I moved out here.
Oh,
and $500 saved. This is how God takes care of the dumb. That was the dumbest thing. And my aunt Mickey, may she rest in peace, she and my mom drove me to the airport, and my aunt Mickey found out I only had $500, and she was like, "You're crazy." And she gave me $1,000 on the way to the airport and was like, "Now you have $1,500, please, and please find somewhere to sleep after 3 days." So it literally worked out. But don't do that, children. Do not come to LA with $500.
$500. Don't start out with $500.
Don't do it.
It'll be gone by the time you.
Oh, at the airport when you get your first beverage, you gone. The $500 is gone. Don't do it.
Oh my gosh, you are so going to go to Howard. Like, you kind of have to.
I feel like I do.
I feel like this is like we're beaming this energy
Please,
to Howard,
call
because
me.
the idea of being a mature student. I
Mm-hmm.
think when I was in college and there would be mature students, we were
Yeah.
definitely like, oh my God, what are you doing here? What is going on?
Right. I
But
know.
now, like I'm 55 and I'm like, I'm going to take a journalism class
Why not?
up the street.
There's a college near me. I'm thinking about taking adult classes in sewing. I want to learn how to sew. Like I got a little bit. Like I can put a hem in my pants.
Yeah.
But I want to learn the patterns, and I want to learn how to do the different stitches. So I think I'm going to take a class at the local college myself.
I think that is a great idea. Like learning is continuously pushing your
Absolutely.
brain past
Absolutely.
what felt possible.
Absolutely.
I think that is the key.
Yeah.
Personal flexibility is very good for anti-aging.
Absolutely.
But expanding the horizons of knowledge is actually keeps you pretty
Absolutely.
fresh. Creating really great retail experiences is tough, especially with multiple stores, teams of staff, fulfillment centers, separate workflows. It is a lot. But with Shopify Point of Sale, you can do it all without complexity. Shopify's point of sale system is a unified command center for your retail business. It brings together in-store and online operations across 1,000 locations. Imagine being able to guarantee that shopping is always convenient. Endless aisle, ship to customer, buy online, pick up in store, all made simpler so customers can shop how they want and staff have the tools to close a sale every time. Let's face it, acquiring new customers is expensive, but with Shopify POS, you can keep shoppers coming back with personalized experiences and first-party data that give marketing teams a competitive edge. In fact, it's proven. Based on a report from EY, businesses on Shopify POS see real results like 22% better total cost of ownership and benefits equivalent to an 8.9% uplift in sales on average relative to the market set surveyed. Want more? Check out at shopify.com/Samby, all lowercase, and learn how to create the best retail experiences without complexity. Shopify.com/Samby. I actually think that there is maybe no choice as quite as selfless as taking care of people who can't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
You made a choice to leave work.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, that meant being released from the show Community.
Yes.
Which I loved,
Thank
which everyone I know loved,
Oh.
to become a full-time caregiver to your dad. Can you talk me through that? I bet, what was that like? I bet your agent team, I'm just trying to picture what those conversations were like.
Yeah. I am blessed, I can say, to have a team that knows me fully, and they knew from the beginning that there were certain auditions I would pass on, and because I'm PG-13, everything I do is pretty much PG-13, so they already knew that there was a line for me, and they also knew that money and fame do not move me. So leaving a hit show is not something that's more valuable to me than caring for someone in my life that needs me. I'm very loyal, and I honor my contracts. Legal secretary, I honor my contracts.
Sure.
So I was never going to leave Community. I was never going to break the contract.
Right.
So I kept hoping that whatever I was seeing happening with my dad, and I saw him declining over that last year of the 5th season of the show, I said to myself, like, if we're canceled, I'm going to get him immediately, as soon as we're canceled. And sure enough, we were canceled. On a Friday was our last tape day. I was on a plane by Sunday to go to Cleveland and get my dad. So when I went to get him, the show was over. And I was like, this is great. I can get my dad. I can bring him back to LA, and I can take care of him. And then after I got him here, the show got picked up.
Right.
And so I then had to call Sony and Dan Harmon and say, oh my God, I know that the show's coming back, and I'm technically still under contract because they picked up our last option.
Your last option.
And I was like, but I have my dad, and we do 16-hour days, and I can't care for him adequately and be on set 16 hours. And can you please release me? And they kindly released me. So I was able to step away and put that time into my dad. Now, what the Forrest Gump of it all, after I left Community, was the same time they were rebooting The Odd Couple with the late great Matthew Perry and Thomas Lennon. And I got a call saying, we're recasting Oscar's assistant. We'd like to offer the role to you. And so I was really only out of work for maybe 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
And that show was a multicam, which was a 20-hour week instead of a
Right.
80-hour week. And so and it was 10 minutes from my house. I could go home and check on my dad
Oh,
at lunchtime. So it just really worked out. But I was prepared to be off work as long as I needed to be off work to make sure he was okay.
like, how did what was your dad's perspective? Was he open to it? Did he try to resist you?
He resisted me the first, like, my dad never even visited California. I'd lived here
Okay.
20 years or so, and he hadn't even been here. And so I just wanted him to visit for the longest time. And he was, that I'm working, I can't do it. So once he had retired, and then we noticed that he was showing signs of dementia, I just
Right.
kept floating every time, well, Daddy, why don't you just come stay with me? And this is before I was thinking that he would need me. I just thought, just come and retire and live here with me as a retired person. And then in that year, everything went down. So the first time he said, I would consider it, I said, okay, Dad, bye, and hung up. Because I was like, he said it. It's done. He
done.
said it. And so within that time he said he would do it, and then the show getting canceled was maybe a 6-month period where he completely went down. So I was
Okay.
asked, I had Meals on Wheels bringing him food. One of his neighbors, Miss Pearl, bless her heart, would check on him. She lived next door to
Right.
him. His nieces and nephews that were in town would come and see him, but everybody was holding him together
Right.
just until I could get there to get him. And by the time I got him, he was almost catatonic. Like, he had not been diagnosed, but he had no medication. He just didn't know who he was, where he was. And so I got him at
Okay.
just the right time to get him diagnosed and get him medication and to bring him back from the brink. And I
Right.
had him as my caregiver. I was his caregiver for 11 and a half years. It's just been the last 11 and a half years I had him. And then
Yeah.
he had a fall, he broke his hip,
Okay.
and then it became what it became.
You must have felt so grateful to have the means to, because when I think about caregivers, there are just so many people in situations where just financially they are not able to kind of move the puzzle pieces.
Yeah,
They are just not able to kind of Tetris
it
a
all.
situation that is
Yeah.
really manageable at all.
Yeah,
And it's a gift to
Yeah.
spend those years together. I mean, it's terrible. I'm sure it was incredibly
It was
stressful.
hard.
Really hard. Really
but
hard.
even being able to decide to leave your job,
Yeah.
right? There's so
Yeah.
many people that don't get the chance to do that, and it's going to be harder, of course, going forward because of what we're dealing with in Washington now. The
Yes.
greatest sadness for me, and there's a lot of sadness with not having Kamala Harris in the White House, but the
Oh, yeah.
greatest sadness is that she wanted to bring Medicare home,
Yeah.
which meant that people who, all the care that my dad is getting now and his amazing board and care,
hmm
that money could have been used in my house. So my dad never would have had to leave. The
Yes.
caregiver could have come here and gotten paid
Yes.
here to care
Yes.
for him 24 hours a day. And so when I think about what we've lost, especially after doing Squeezed and talking to so many different types of caregivers, from parents to people taking care of their parents to people taking care of their family members, like, everyone could have benefited from that. And
Everyone.
I am privileged and I am able to take time off when I need to. What if you're working a 9 to 5 job and you
Yeah.
also have your kids in childcare, and then you have someone at home that has dementia? What do you do? You know, it's
yeah.
horrible.
The struggles that people face on a daily basis, it is so vital to consider those burdens and those, and not well, yes, burdens, but those struggles, I guess, is what I mean.
Yeah, I think we
the
go back
struggles.
to the idea that I am my brother and sister's keeper.
Right.
And I think there's too much me, 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 me. And as much as I feel like it's
Yeah.
detrimental to me at times to be a people pleaser, I kind of love that I am. I always think back to what Mr. Rogers said, and he said, when something's going wrong, find the helpers.
Find the helpers.
And I took that one step further when I was a kid, and I decided I wanted to be one of the helpers. Like, I want to
Yes.
be one of the people that provides a safe space for people and that is a respite for people. And so the idea has always been, I am here in this room because I'm supposed to provide something for someone. And it's not a burden to me to be that. I see
Right.
it as one of the things God put me on this earth to do and to be. So if I'm on a set, if I'm in the frozen food section at Kroger's, I literally am always available to those that may need me,
Right.
and I wait for God to reveal who that person may be in any given situation.
Is that a conversation that you had previously had with your dad? Like, were you able to have those kinds of conversations with your dad prior to his getting a diagnosis of dementia or prior to his kind of slide
I
down a
think
path?
I think he and my mom raised me to be the kind of person that cared about people. So I think
Hmm.
he knew in the back of his mind that if he ever needed me, that I would be there. Later in life, like later in his diagnosis, like maybe, gosh, maybe within the last year, he said to me once, he said, "How did you get this job?"
Uh,
And there's a childlike wonder that comes with Alzheimer's at times because it feels like they're seeing things anew.
hmm.
And so in calling it a job, I don't think he really understood in that moment what caregiving was. And, he just was wondering why I was there feeding him and making sure
Right.
he could watch the 5 heartbeats and bringing him his juice. And I told him, I said, I petitioned for this job. I
Right.
fought for this job. I wanted this job. This is the best job
Right.
I've ever had. And he just giggled and he got it. But there were also times when he was more lucid back in the
Hmm.
day when he would say, I don't know, anybody that don't have a daughter, I don't know what's going to happen to them. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like he really understood the love of a daughter, and my
Right.
brother's great too. I don't want nothing taken away from my brother, but I was the day to day. And so he was just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's so nice to, if you don't have a daughter, I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
he got it. He understands it. Or he did anyway. When he was more there.
I heard you say on the podcast that you I don't want to I'm going to mess up. I'm going to paraphrase here, but that
Sure.
you like to discuss mortality.
Yeah.
You're into
I'm
that.
morbid. I'm morbid.
Morbid, that's it. That's the exact word that you
I'm very
used.
morbid.
You're morbid. I think I'm morbid too.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like
I
thinking
kind
about
of
it. I
like it
think
too.
it's
And
good.
this thing is, I don't like the idea of death. Like
Right.
the way that we die, each person dies, and with the fear that you might feel as you realize it's your moment, like all of that. No,
Hmm.
don't like that. But I do like discussing the idea that we get one life, that we're all gonna die, and my husband is always like, "Oh, Yvette," because something bad will happen, and
Hmm.
my response is, "Well, we're all gonna die anyway."
Right.
Because the thing is, it kind of equalizes whatever situation you're in. You're stuck in traffic. Who cares? We're all gonna die. It just
Yes.
it makes you realize, one, that every moment that you're above ground is precious.
Yes.
Two, you don't take things too seriously, and whatever someone does to you, you kind of can let it roll off your back because they're gonna die too. Like it
Yeah.
just really,
It
you know,
centers.
it does.
It can center your thoughts. It can prioritize your thoughts in a way that I think is very healthy. Like I was raised a lot by my grandmother, actually.
Okay.
So single, so my parents were teenagers, so she really
Mm.
had to step in and she took care of me for a long time. And, I kind of went between, like, I'm an only child
Yeah.
going between homes. So I have a strong, maybe I feel a kinship on this subject matter because I was there so much for my grandmother at the end
Yeah.
of her life.
Yeah.
In 1997, I was there for my grandfather at the end of his life. Like,
Yeah.
it is something that it feels very personal. And I love to talk about it and think about it. And I do share that perspective of, like, sometimes if I'm making a decision, I put it up against what I want my deathbed to look like.
That's good. Listen, I think it's great. I don't listen. Maybe we're weird. We might be weird,
Maybe.
but I think it's great.
And I like to go around the world and kind of see how people deal with death in other countries. Because I do feel this, that very particularly in the United States, it can be kept very much at arm's length. It is
Yeah,
not
because
integrated.
because in our country, everything is money and achieving.
Right.
And if you talk about death, and that means I'm not making money anymore.
Right.
And I can't take it with me. It's everything, like even all the greedy things that these billionaires are doing. Like I
Yeah.
really want to go, hey, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to die before you're ready to go and before you think you're going to die. So all of
Yeah.
this money and land and stuff that you're hoarding, it doesn't benefit you in the long run. And all of that could be used right now to help people that are still alive with you.
totally
it's
agree
so-
with you.
I don't understand. I host, and this is not an ad or anything, but I host this seminar called Inwell.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
the Inwell seminar is literally all about death, Sam. Every person that speaks, everybody that does a
Sign me up.
presentation, it literally, you're going to love it. It's literally about all the things that lead up to end of life. And it's
Right.
not sad. It is life affirming. It is encouraging. It teaches you to put yourself, get your ducks in a row. Every year
Yes.
after I leave that seminar, I'm like, yes. Because when you
Yes.
deal with death, you can live better. Like even getting your house in order. Like everyone should know, do you want, extraordinary things done? Do you want life support?
Yes.
Do you want to be cremated or buried? If you're cremated, do you want somebody to keep your ashes forever or throw them into the ocean? What do you want?
You can't worry it away. Like you
cannot.
can't push it out of your mind for
can't.
too long, because the end will be it is a comfort.
Yep.
I think, as I've observed at end of life, for people to feel like, I don't know, it's just a personal observation, but it seems to me like as people are exiting, they want to hear the words, "It is okay.
It's okay.
We're going to be okay."
That's it. And they say that it's almost like you've been to the seminar. They say to them, we love you.
Yeah.
You are safe. You are
Yes.
okay. You can go.
Yes.
We're going to be fine. Please just release yourself. And that you hear about people that like hold on because they just want to wait until somebody comes in the room. That kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
my mother, when she passed, I was not here. I remember when I was in Ireland on the phone with her, I kept saying, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can go. You can go. And she knew that it was okay. And I feel like
Right.
my mother sent me to Ireland because she knew that if I was here when she left, that she probably wouldn't go. So she sent me to the other side of the world so that she could go in peace, And I feel that. And I think that everyone should have the right to decide how they leave.
How they leave. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Luckily for you, there's Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Don't rely on other job sites where you hope your listing is at the top of the page or the right person sees it. Indeed's sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people you want faster, and it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. I've worked on many different creative projects with writers' rooms and full staffs, and I'll tell you, having the wrong person in the wrong place is a lot costlier than people realize. That's why making sure you find the right person with the right posting can save everyone time and emotional energy, and that's what Indeed can do for your next hire. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Samby. Just go to Indeed.com/Samby right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Samby. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. There's a great episode of Squeezed where you talk to a death doula.
Ugh.
And on Full Frontal, we talked to a death doula. We did a whole episode about end of life and having kind of planning your own funeral.
Yeah.
And it was actually so joyful. And I think people were afraid to watch it in a way, and it was off-putting for people sort of. But I do understand that. I get that it's very hard, but it actually can be integrated in your life in a way that is actually it's so beneficial for your family members to have these conversations.
And it's the one thing, Sam, that is inevitable for all of us.
Yes.
We may not all be rich or get married or have the job we want or have kids. There's a lot of stuff that not every one of us will do. Every single one of us and every single thing will die.
Yes.
So once it becomes an equalizer, what are you afraid of? It's everyone is going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, except for that one guy, that really pale billionaire who's trying to live forever. You know that guy?
The guy
reverse age.
Right, who's doing all the treatments. Bless his heart.
He's doing all the
he's going to die too.
He's looking quite waxy.
Somebody needs to tell him. And he's going to die too. And
I don't think he's gotten the message that acquisition does not prevent death.
It doesn't. And why would you even want to prevent it? In my mind, this is going to sound crazy, but I want to take the full journey. I believe that we're spiritual beings, right? We're eternal spiritual beings. And I believe that we're up in heaven or wherever you believe we are before we come here. And we're choosing to come and choosing this body and these parents. You chose to be your mother and father's child. You chose to be raised by your grandmother. I chose my mother and my father, right? And so the goal coming down here was, I want to experience it all. I believe that being is up there going, well, I want some heartache. I want some triumphs. I want some joys. I want my teeth kicked in. I want somebody to do me dirty. I want to be the biggest, have the happiest day ever one day.
Right.
You want to experience it all. And the full part of it is we experience birth. We all experience birth.
Mm-hmm.
We all have to experience death. And I want to have the full experience. I want to live as long as I can healthily.
Mm-hmm.
I want to love as much as I can while I'm here. But the full journey is the full journey. And the goal is to have done enough and been decent enough and to have lived enough to earn the passing. When you go, it's like,
in a lot of ways, you are speaking my love language. And it's probably very unexpected for people who are listening right now. Who are like, oh, it's too funny, lady. I'm like, but the flip side of that is like, I love things that are hard.
Me too. I lean in.
Shows. I like to lean in.
I lean in. You know what's funny that you say that, though? That brings me back to why end of life decisions and your family members knowing what you want is so important. I remember when my mom was passing, my mother had always told me and my brother that she didn't want any breathing tubes or machines. Like when it was time, when she saw the exit, she was going to take it and don't stop her, right?
Right.
So me and my brother, though it was breaking our hearts when we saw that she did not want, they wanted to put a breathing tube in and she said no. We knew that this was it. She wanted to go on hospice and that was it. And she was gone within, I think, 12 to 18 hours. I say 12, my brother says 18. There was a nurse. I can't remember if it was a nurse or the chaplain that was there, but she said to us as we made the hospice decision, she said, you have done a great service to your mother and to each other, because she told us that there was someone across the hall who was on life support. One kid wanted to pull the plug. The other kid did not. And until they went through a court, whatever it was, that poor man or woman had to stay on life support. And one kid said it was against that person's will.
Oh,
and so once you know what it is, you get it in writing, you do your advance directive, you let people know this is what I want, and then you can pass the way you want to pass.
Yes.
And your family can make their peace with it however they need to make peace with it. But no one should be forced to be on machines if they don't want to be on machines.
I'm going to tell my kids to drop a piano on me when I'm walking down the street one day.
You want the Acme treatment?
That's correct. I prefer not to see it coming, but if necessary, they can push me into the pond in our backyard. Just tell me, put a lot of candy on the bottom, float it down, sink it down.
There's candy down there, Mommy. It's horrible. Sam, it's horrible. I love it, though. I kind of love it. It's morbid. I love it.
Don't you think? I mean, I don't know if you watched the presidential address.
Oh, Sam.
Oh, Lord, help us all.
Why?
What?
Why? How are we? How are we here?
How are we anything? I feel like what we're talking about is the polar opposite of the vibes in that room, which is like, I don't know how in a country filled with like very compassionate people, I find. I actually think Americans are largely very giving and generous. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
How can we find ourselves in this place where our political leaders are veering so sharply away from any type of empathy at all?
Because the goal for a lot of people in this country is power and money.
Right.
And when you put power and money as the first things that you care about, then everybody gets trampled. And they are basically in this little bubble where they're all smacking each other on the back. Because the thing is, the man was lying the entire time.
Oh,
blaming others and lying. And the fact that people were clapping for the lies that they know are lies says to me, What do you get? And I realized that what they get is the ability to keep their jobs, which they don't do for the benefit of the people.
Yes.
If they clap for him, he won't turn on them, which means when they have another election, if we ever are allowed to have one, they won't get voted out. But they want to keep a job that they don't want to do. But this is the thing. Remember, the dude said that he loves an unintelligent electorate. He
Yes.
loves people that are dumb. And
Yeah.
so now, because of social media and this echo chamber of bots and trolls, because the thing is, too, I agree with you. I do think that we are a more compassionate and loving
Yes.
country than we think. But that's because there's so many bots and troll farms spewing hateful things.
Yes.
And we're arguing with a thing that doesn't even exist, that is literally pumping in hateful things. And we're thinking,
Yes.
that person's horrible. That's not even a person. It's a bot.
In our individual lives,
Yeah.
people are like people who are watching this speech, people who voted for him are caring tenderly for other people.
Yep.
They-
In their lives.
If they had a child who came to them, I'm not saying this would always happen, but if their child came to them and said they were trans, a lot of them would change their
Yeah.
opinions about all those things. It's like
Yeah.
they can find empathy in daily situations. Why can't we find it nationally, or where has it gone? We have become so divided by these tools.
Yeah. Well, the sad thing is what we're all going through, the find out phase, as everyone is saying, as a nation, may be how they find their empathy, because
Right.
they're losing their jobs too.
Boy.
And their family members are being deported too. And the eggs are high at their grocery store too. So, and then once these tariffs hit, when these tariffs hit, baby, it's about to be a whole nother thing. So once they realize that what they hoped for another is now on their doorstep, there's a very good chance that they finally will get it.
Right.
Because they'll be the one that needs assistance. They'll be the one that needs understanding and care. And they will know for the first time what it feels like when no one cares about them.
My God.
So maybe that'll bring the empathy back.
Well, I pray. You're from JD Vance's native
He's from
land
mine. He's
of
from
Ohio.
mine. I'm older than him. I'm smarter than him. He's from
Yeah.
mine. I'm more
Okay.
empathetic than him. That
You
beast is
are.
from mine.
It's going to be such a long 4 years. How are you, are you able to pace yourself? And if so, you said you were not, you've already told me you're terrible at self-care, so I believe you're not pacing yourself. I'm
not.
extrapolating.
I
Okay.
have, as a proud member of the 92%, I have taken my rest. I have backed away. I will not be at a protest in a pink hat. It's not happening, right?
Right.
That is
Right.
very clear.
Mhm.
But I have been unable to stick my head in the sand, because when things hit the fan, they affect people of color and disabled people and gay people and old people and poor people more. So I have to keep fighting for those people in some way. So my goal now is just to shine a light on everything that is
Right.
disgusting, and try to encourage people to go to the 5 call app and call their senators and their congress people, because what people are forgetting, there are things that are being stopped or slowed down
Yes.
because we are saying no. And I'm telling you, if they come for that Social Security and that Medicare and Medicaid like they're trying to, they better not. They better not.
Oh,
It's about to get rough for people, and for them.
And
for them. These town halls are showing that people are very upset. Now, they can la their way through it with their fingers in their ears if they want to, but people are very, very upset.
Very upset.
People are taken to the streets, even though the mass media is not showing it, because everybody's, that book, I think it's Tim Snyder on tyranny, where it says the first rule is do not obey in advance. And as soon as he got elected, everybody just folded and started to obey. That's the problem. We have to keep fighting. We have to keep saying no. And I'm hoping that something can be done in Congress in the midterms, and we can get back the House and the Senate. And then maybe there's a chance that we can, properly impeach him. And not that Vance is better. Vance is all really worse. The only thing that makes Vance better is that Vance is not liked. And so the people that laughed at that State of the Union, they really think that beast is delightful. They really enjoy his shenanigans. No one enjoys JD Vance. I don't think his wife even enjoys him.
Yeah, no one. He's not enjoyable.
He's not enjoyable. So there's going to be less, let's just go along with this good old guy if he's the one. But he's also, the bad thing is he's smarter than Trump is, and he also has no compass. Like, more, Trump's compass is money and power. Vance really can be pushed with the wind.
And I think he has a
Dangerous.
more reasonable, well, not reasonable, but like I think he has a more traditional way of seeking money. Like I think that Trump has a very
Gangster backdoor kind of
backdoor, and also he is a casino. He's like, we used to call him at Full Frontal, we called him Casino Mussolini.
Yes.
And so, like he's just like loose. It's almost like he just doesn't understand the financial system at all.
Because he's dumb. Because he's really not bright. If you every single business he's had, he's running to the ground.
He's running to the ground.
And the other thing too that people are forgetting, as they tout even Elon as this great mastermind. Look at what he did to Twitter.
Oof.
Just look at where Twitter was and what Twitter was before he came in with his efficiency. He came in and did the same thing to Twitter. Let's fire everybody. People sleep on the floors. I need 19-year-olds and we're going to make this better. It's not better. And he's doing the same thing to the country. So this idea that because you have money, you're smart.
Oh, no.
No. You have money, you're a billionaire probably because you're a bit corrupt and you care more about money than people. Someone said once, you cannot be a billionaire and be a good person. Now, hear me out. I'm sure there
I don't disagree with you.
There may be one or two, that are altruistic. But most times, to be a billionaire, you have to step on people's throats. You have to shortcut. You have to say, I'm going to buy this yacht instead of giving people good wages. Mm-hmm. I don't want to give health care to people at my company. I'd rather get this Lamborghini. There is a point where you choose the money over people if you become a billionaire. Because also, how do you stay a billionaire unless you're choosing yourself over the people? Because all of those people that they're giving these tax cuts to, they could all put all those billions together and solve homelessness. Yes. They could solve the veterans, make sure the veterans have everything they need. But they're not doing that because they care more about the money than the people.
Yeah, they are making choices in the self-interest.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. I don't think you can get to $1 billion without really like scrambling up a pyramid of people's broken backs. I don't think there's any way to get to $1 billion if you didn't break a lot of people's backs along the way.
It's more money than you will ever spend in your lifetime.
Yes.
How many houses do you need? How big does your yacht need to be, really? Come on.
It's something I talk about a lot, is the concept of, because I see it kind of, I think that we're both seeing it everywhere we look, that it's very difficult. We don't hold the value here of knowing when is enough.
Yeah.
Of knowing really when it is enough for you. And it can even be a big number if that's your number. But a lot of people just don't have a kind of a concept of like, what's my upper limit? When can I stop? It's just unstoppable. And then they want to expand that acquisition into like outer space. And then they're like, what if I own outer space or colonize Mars? And I'm go there. Please go there.
Can we? I mean, I'd love for him to shoot himself to the moon. I really would. Just goodbye. Just go and make it great up there. Go and make it. Take your friends and make it great. But I would like clean water and some air we can breathe down here. And I'd like everybody to have a roof over their head and some food in their belly. Like that would be really wonderful. I think about it too. I say this all the time. I don't have kids, but there's never been a time that there's been a measure for schools or raising my taxes to help children that I have not said yes to. I don't have to have kids to care about your kids. You know what I mean? I want every child to be educated and every child to have a good life. They didn't ask to be here. Let's give them a good chance once they get here. I don't understand the idea of, well, it doesn't affect me, so I don't have any. I don't understand it. I
don't understand it at all. And I think, it's difficult kind of in the rest of the world looking in at us in such a state of confusion. They're just not hearing the right story. So I think it's important, like the work that you're doing, to be a beacon of reasonable, like now is the time. It has been the time for a long time, but it continues to be the time to like plant a flag in what is right.
We have to. I mean, I keep saying online, we're all we got. Like this, we are the resistance. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Like we're the resistance. I have a Harris Walls sign that is going to stay up. It will be tattered and disgusting by the time, 2028 comes around, but it is going to stay, because I want people that drive down the street to know, one, that this is a safe place. If something jumps off and you need help, this is a house that believes in kindness and caring for people. And then, it's also a told you so as everything hits the fan. Because there's a couple of the others on my street. You're going to drive past, and when you don't have your Social Security check, you're going to realize, I tried to tell you. I tried to tell you he was coming for it.
It is so worrying. But you know what is more essential than ever, and I think you will agree with this, is actually having conversations like this.
Yes.
Where you kind of just build a community and relationships with people who are like-minded, who are emissaries of reasonableness and peace.
Yeah.
And you just try to hang on.
Yeah. And also, I think it's very important to fight for the people that are doing good. I have a new, one of my favorite hashtags now is see something, say something, and also not on my watch. Right. So as soon as I see them coming for someone that I know is doing a great job, I had to fight for our mayor, Karen Bass, because they were coming for Karen Bass. And now I've started some ridiculous recall push. And it's all politically motivated. And if people that actually live in LA know how hard this woman is working to make things better for us. And if there's one thing that's bad about Karen Bass is that she's not egotistical and crazy. So she's not power hungry. So the way other politicians are out front going, look what I did, she's just quietly working. And when you're quietly working, people don't realize all that you're doing because she doesn't fly her own flag. So I decided I'm going to fly a flag for her. I'm going to make sure everybody knows what this woman is doing. And I will do that for anyone. I take up for Congress people that are doing the job. That's why I was on the stump for Kamala and Tim. Like, I really, if I know that someone is a good, principled servant leader, I don't care who they are, I am out there like, look at this person. This is a good person. And I won't let people tear them down with lies and innuendo and blame that they don't deserve.
I think that's a great service because the people who are working the hardest don't really have time to throw themselves a parade.
They don't.
And then they just get kind of washed. Yep. They get washed out by these just immense voices that come in and claim victory, and say things that aren't true. The loudest voices in the room.
Oh God, I'm so over it.
I'm so over it. I'm so over loud voices.
I know.
Oh no.
I know. We're so kindred. I always knew that if I ever got a chance to talk to you, that it would be this conversation.
I want to come to your seminar.
You need to come. It's called Inwell. We do it now it's not my seminar. I'm just happy to host it, but it's every November in LA. Well, it's been in LA the last 2 years. I don't know where it'll be this year, but it's every November. And, my fellow morbid friend, you could actually go on YouTube. They put up the little bits and pieces. So you can go to Inwell go to Inwell and look up some of these things. They really help. I'll tell you one thing that blew my wig back. This was the first year I hosted. Did you all know, Sam's listeners and viewers, that when a oncologist, a cancer doctor, gets a terminal diagnosis, most of them go on hospice? They do not. Most of them
don't do it.
They don't do it because they know the science. They know, and I say a terminal, not just a cancer diagnosis, the one where they're like, this is not going to end well. Most of them decide to spend the time with their families, to travel, to visit, to live. They choose to live instead of to fight the thing that they've been told, science has told them they will not beat.
Right.
So that really stuck with me. And listen, it's an individual choice. Choose your adventure. If you really, really want to stay, I think you should fight as much as you can. But it's interesting that cancer doctors don't.
They've seen what it can do. They've seen that it can actually reduce the quality of your life. Like they've seen that balance.
Yeah, they'd rather have 6 good months than a year and a half or 2 years of suffering.
It reminds me of how I learned, I'm sure you know this too, that so many of those tech giants don't let their kids have phones.
Right. They don't let them put them in the bedroom. Like I saw something recently. They were talking to all these tech people, and they say, "What's the one tech room in your house?" And it's like you don't take your phone into your bedroom.
Yeah, not in your bedroom.
Not in your bedroom.
With acorns until you're 16.
Yep, kids go outside and play.
You'll get one. Go outside and play.
It's interesting, right?
They know They know.
They know.
And they have different rules for themselves.
Yeah.
And we need to look at the rules they
have
keep
for
their
themselves.
own lives.
Absolutely.
And abide by those.
Absolutely.
Stop giving them all of our attention and eyeballs.
And information. How about
data.
that?
Yes.
A lot of data. They just want the data.
What a joy to talk to you. What an absolute joy this has been.
It's so mutual. This has been a delight.
That was Yvette Nicole Brown, and I had no choice but to look up one thing. We were talking about billionaire Brian Johnson, who thinks he can live forever. I had to look up how much he spends to stay alive, and he spends $2 million a year trying to biohack his body and reverse the aging process. Oh my God, I cannot. Okay, get out of here. Anyways, all right. Thanks for joining us. I'm Samantha B. See you next week for some more choice words. Thank you for listening to Choice Words, which was created by and is hosted by me. The show is produced by Svea Baron-Reinstein with editing and additional producing by Josh Richmond. We're distributed by Lemonada Media, and you can find me at RealSamB on X and Instagram. Follow Choice Words wherever you get your podcasts or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership.